Today, we'll be discussing about the topic dilated cardiomyopathy. Firstly, we'll look at the pathogenesis of dilated cardiomyopathy. In this, what mainly happens is that the left ventricle may or may not involve the right ventricle. There will be a weakened muscle border, as I've highlighted, along with an enlarged ventricle that may affect globally both left and right ventricle, or mostly sometimes only the left ventricle. Due to various causes, when the ventricles get dilated, what happens is that they become enlarged, and eventually what will happen is that sarcomere will not contract properly. This will lead to systolic dysfunction, that is, the blood from left ventricle will not enter into the aorta properly, leading to increase in end diastolic volume without increase in stroke volume. What this causes is heart failure. Eventually, it will cause left heart failure followed by right heart failure. Both will occur. Let's see the causes which lead to dilated cardiomyopathy. First is idiopathic. Idiopathic mainly involves the genetic causes. The exact gene localization has not been done yet. Myocarditis, mainly Coxsackie-B virus, which causes the destruction of the muscle cell proteins, will cause thinning of the ventricular walls and eventually lead to dilated cardiomyopathy. Same principle goes for alcoholic and drug induced causes for dilated cardiomyopathy. What happens in postpartum period is that the heart has exaggerated its work function during the delivery time, because of which it will be weak. Simple mnemonic to remember the causes for dilated cardiomyopathy is I mapped. I for idiopathic, M for myocarditis, A for alcoholic, P for postpartum, E for endocrinopathies, D for drugs. How does a patient with dilated cardiomyopathy present? He will mainly have features of right and left heart failure features. If the patient presents with mainly a right heart involvement and right ventricular failure is present, he will have dyspnea, fatigue, peripheral edema, and increase in jugular venous pressure is essential to note. If he presents initially with left heart failure, there will be an S3 gallop, bibasal crepitations, pulmonary edema. There will be a functional mitral regurgitation murmur, which occurs because of the dilated left ventricle along with the normal narrow aorta. This causes a functional type of MR to occur. How will we do investigations and what will we do? First we'll do is ECG. ECG will show that there is a left bundle branch block because of the enlarged and dilated left ventricle. The nerve supplies also will be damaged. Chest X-ray will show cardiomegaly due to enlarged ventricle. An echo is the main investigation of choice for dilated and non-contracting ventricle. I have shown here a picture of a 2D echo of a dilated cardiomyopathy case. This is the left ventricle. This is the left ventricle. This is the left atrium. This is the right atrium. As you can see, this enlarged left ventricle has completely pushed out the minor right ventricle, and there is a thinning of the walls of the left ventricle over here. How will we treat a patient with dilated cardiomyopathy? We have to mainly treat the symptomatic causes. For example, if he is an alcoholic, you must cut down. If it is myocarditis or Coxsackie-B virus, we must treat for that. In the postpartum period, appropriate exercises must be given. Sometimes even nutritional deficiencies like thiamine deficiencies and selenium deficiencies can cause dilated cardiomyopathy. They must be corrected. For endocrinopathies, appropriate thyroid treatment must be given. And then we can give symptomatic treatment. If they are going for heart failure, we must give digoxin, AC inhibitors or beta blockers appropriately. But digoxin must be used in careful because digoxin can precipitate arrhythmias. There must be sodium restriction and avoid excessive physical activity. In severe cases, we must even go for cardiac transplantation if necessary.